What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we will be talking about the Detective Pikachu event, going over some strategies. You're definitely going to want to take advantage of this event for the simple fact that it does last 10 days, and we've also got some bonuses, some increased spawn rates, and it's going to be a little bit of a low-key event, but I do think that there are some great qualities about it. So if you do enjoy this video, if you do learn something new, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's go ahead and jump into the features of the actual event itself. Then we'll be diving into some more details, such as the increased spawn rates related to the movie Pokemon, and then finally taking a look at some new raid bosses. We've got quite a bit to cover, so let's go ahead and jump into it. First things first, we've got an increased movie spawn rate for certain Pokemon. This will end up showing up not only in different shiny variations, but also will play a part into the research task. Up next, movie theme raids. We talked about it. We will be covering the list. And then up next, we will have new research. There's actually only 4 new research tasks, but there is 1 or 2 of them that are actually really good ones that you do want to focus on. And then finally, we've got ×2 catch XP. Now, it's very important to take advantage of these types of events because one kind of thing that gets left out is just the sheer volume of spawns that come because of these events. Whether the actual bonus is associated to Stardust or experience, you definitely want to take advantage of it, especially if you are a lower level player. For example, trying to reach level 40, this could end up being a very good opportunity if you throw on a lucky egg and then of course focus on the ×2 catch XP, definitely utilizing your time. We've got a new shiny Pokemon, a new shiny family added in, Apom and Ambipom. Definitely a cool one, not necessarily meta relevant, but I do think that this Pokemon could end up being a little bit on the rarer side, simply because we all know that the spawn rates don't end up turning out too well as far as the shiny variants are concerned. And then up next, you're gonna have to have a Sinnoh Stone to evolve it up to Ambipom, so definitely keep that in mind. Then we have, of course, the Detective Hat Pikachu variation being added in. Definitely a cool one, but something kind of weird is that they decided not to add in a shiny variation. I'm not really sure because it's been kind of like up and down as far as the other variations are concerned. Not really sure. Who knows? We may end up seeing some type of surprise considering it is a 10-day event. Then we've got the Detective Hat Pikachu showing up on the Go snapshot. So if you do want to get yourself a photo of it, definitely consider doing it if you're interested in that type of thing. So we talked a little bit about the research tasks. Let's go ahead and dive into it. And to be honest, if you were just to read some of these research tasks, they do seem a little bit cryptic. So I'm glad that we have the clarification by LeakDuck. The first one's going to be catching a Bulbasaur, or as it puts it, catch the seed Pokemon that is seen walking in a river. Or just catch a Bulbasaur. I don't know, up to you. You'll be able to get yourself a Trico. Don't forget that there will be a shiny variation available. Then up next, catching a water-type Pokemon carried in a backpack, or just catch yourself a Psyduck. And you can get yourself a shiny Magikarp potentially. I really like that at least these two are focused on the shiny variation. But on these next two, they're going to be a little bit low-key valuable for sure. The first one, we've got Arcanine, right? Well, the fact is that because it is a secondary evolution line, you can get 300 Stardust for the research task. So if you were to stack it and then wait until the Blaziken Community Day, which has a ×3 catch Stardust, and you throw on a Star Piece, this single Pokemon on the Blaziken Community Day will be worth 1,350 Stardust, so definitely something worth keeping. And then finally, we've got catch 10 Jigglypuff, Apom, or Snubbull. So Jigglypuff, one of the featured Pokemon from the movie, doesn't have a shiny variation, but figured I would mention it here. This is a good chance to get yourself a Ditto. If you were stuck on some type of special research, this could definitely be an easy way to go ahead and get yourself a Ditto, especially because Jigglypuff, Apom, or Snubbull, they're definitely going to be very common in the next 10 days. Up next, we've got the shiny reminders. We've got 6 different shiny variations that you can focus on. As far as the starters are concerned, I'm personally out hunting these hard because we are going to have a community day coming up potentially at the end of the year where they could end up allowing all of the past community day Pokemon to obtain that special move. I'm very interested in it simply for focusing mostly on PvP because I actually don't have a Frenzy Plant Venusaur, for example, in at the Great League below 1500 CP. So I'm personally focusing on it, and I would highly recommend you to as well. And who knows, hopefully you could end up getting yourself a shiny variation along the way. And then as far as Psyduck, Cubone, and Snubbull are concerned, for these Pokemon, I think people would mostly be interested in them specifically for the shiny variation, but not so much from a meta relevancy standpoint. So let's go ahead and move over to the new raid bosses. If you go ahead and take a look at Tier 1, the most unique thing about this is the simple fact that all of them will have a shiny variation made available. Should you do it? I don't know. I mean, I'm personally on the side of saying I would only consider doing this if there's a Pokemon that is only available in raids. Probably the most common one that people would do in that case is probably a shiny Shinx. You get yourself one of those. I mean, I just know a lot of people are interested in that. For me personally, a couple of the other ones will be spawning in the wild, so I would personally not use your free raid pass on it, or especially like a premium raid pass. Moving on to Tier 2, something kind of interesting. We can see Aipom put in there immediately, so not only getting itself that shiny variation available just in general, it's also in at Tier 2, so yeah, go ahead and go for that. We've got Mawile as well. Not necessarily meta-relevant Pokemon, but shiny variation nonetheless. Up next for the Tier 3, we've got Arcanine in there, Alolan Raichu, and then of course a couple other ones. As far as the ones that I would focus on the most, Machamp is always a solid raid opportunity. Unfortunately, the final evolutions like this do not have a shiny variation. I don't know why Niantic thought to do that. I think a lot of people would raid Machamp even more if the shiny variation was made available. We've also got Flareon, so this could be a good way to complete your Arcanine task that you can do. You got to catch 2 Flareons for it, so definitely keep that in mind that you do have that option if you're not really seeing as many in the wild. Something kind of cool, now that Scyther being back with it having the shiny variation available, I can honestly see myself doing this Scyther raid at this point in time. Beforehand, it was kind of fun to do it, but now that there's a shiny variation available, hey, I'm all for it. I don't have a shiny Scyther, so I may be going out and doing this, especially related to some free passes. Gengar, definitely a solid option. Unfortunately, you're not going to have access to Lick. You're not going to have access to Shadow Claw, Legacy moves. But regardless of that, if you just kind of need some good Ghost-type Pokemon, Gengar could be a solid option. Moving on to Tier 4, definitely got kind of some of the staple Pokemon. We've got Charizard added in as well, especially related to the event of Detective Pikachu. We saw that as kind of like a potential featured Pokemon that would be included, and it ended up showing up in the raids. I think personally, a lot of people do want to focus on Tyranitar raids. That's always like the most common Tier 4 that I've personally seen. Other than that, though, you've got people trying to go out and hunt the shiny Absol. I actually already have a shiny Absol and got it from an egg, so keep it in mind, it is available in eggs as well, so you're not necessarily throwing all of your passes into it. But then up next, we got a Alolan Marowak. Now, this is probably going to get overlooked quite a bit, but I personally think that it is a solid Pokemon from a PvP perspective. So I'm actually, very interested in it. I don't have a shiny variation, unfortunately, but I do have one for the Great League that I'm personally very excited about. So if you're interested in PvP, it could be a good one to go out and try to get yourself that Alolan Marowak. And then, of course, up next, we've got just the typical Tier 5 of the Guardian Lake Trio. But they are region locked, unfortunately, so you can't go out and, raid the other ones. But definitely an interesting set of Pokemon to focus on. But personally, during the event, I'm going to focus on maybe a Scyther, a Machamp, Tyranitar, and then maybe a Zelf for myself being in the Americas. But those are probably going to be the main ones that I focus on. So yeah, that just about wraps up the video. I'm personally very excited about this event, but I definitely want to know what you think. What are you specifically focusing on? Is it just the shiny Pokemon? Is it that Detective Pikachu? Or maybe some of the raid bosses that we haven't really seen in a while? Regardless of whatever it is, definitely let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you next time. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to the supporters over at Patreon. You definitely make this possible, and I 100% appreciate this support. If you are interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, definitely feel free to check out the link in the description.